Good morning, friends. What if it all just went away? What if it all changed very fast? What would happen? There's an old saying that says, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men. So I'm very sure that we are in the time of very weak men, and those weak men are going to create hard times. Are you prepared for those hard times? Are you prepared for those hard times physically and mentally? More importantly, spiritually. We're out here this morning working on our second tank for our rainwater collection system for our off-grid home. And before we do that, we're going to have a very serious talk about what I just mentioned. This topic is pretty serious, and that old adage holds true. I think right now we are governed, I'm not going to say led by, because they're not leaders. We are governed currently by very weak individuals, because it's men and women alike. And if you haven't felt the inflationary pressure at the grocery store or in other places, you probably are going to soon, and I need you to prepare for that. Because for far too long, those weak men have been in a position of governance, and those hard times have been building up. It's been staved off for a little while, but economically, things are going to get incredibly rough. Let's talk about mindset of our country first. Those weak men have created very weak individuals within our country, and there are quite a few of them. So what I mean by that is we have it incredibly great in this country. I love this country. I think it's going down, unfortunately, but we have it so good compared to the rest of the world, but nobody realizes it. It's all perception. So spread this. If you didn't know, the US has the fourth highest disposable income on the planet, only behind a couple small European countries, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and I can't remember the other one. I did the research the other day. Additionally, a country that you think of as being very well off and very rich, Japan, has a disposable income that is only 2/3 of what ours is in this country. Now look, I understand that is the median, that is the middle class, and there are always, unfortunately, going to be poor in every single country. Throughout history, there's always been the very poor, the very rich, and the middle. We're talking about the majority of our country right now. And friends, we are incredibly fragile and coddled and spoiled and incredibly high maintenance. We have things that our grandparents couldn't dream of, and we have them in abundance. You know, my grandma's 98, she's still alive. She tells me of the things that she had, and it was not much. And she wasn't poor, and my family was happy. But even 100 years ago, they couldn't imagine what we have. They didn't have refrigerators. They couldn't keep their food cold. They didn't have televisions. They couldn't sit on the couch and do nothing and order something from the store. They couldn't hop in their car and drive 80 miles an hour somewhere very fast and get whatever they wanted. They couldn't pick up the phone and get something to their home almost instantly or within a few days. We have it so good. And since we have it so good, what has that done? That's made us weak. That's made our minds weak and our bodies weak and our spirituality weak. But here's the deal. Nobody looks out beyond our borders. When they're feeling sorry for themselves, I've traveled Asia a lot. You know, my wife's home country, the Philippines, been there many, many, many times. If you want to see poor people, go look in a third world country. But I tell you what, it's about mindset. So I see people there who hardly have anything, and they still have a smile on their face, and they're not complaining. But we don't think of these things. We don't think about having more money than the average European, and we don't think about those people who are living in a shack in another part of the world. I think that's partially by design, and it starts up here. But the youth in this country are really going to have a tough time when everything gets shut down. So what happens, friends, when the hot water isn't hot anymore and the electricity fluctuates day in and day out? What happens when you can't find gasoline to put in your car? Have you prepared mentally, physically, and most importantly, spiritually? Have you paid attention to the push for a digital currency run by governments? You know what's so dangerous about something like that is it can be turned off with a flick of a switch if they don't like you. And I will tell you that that is prophetic, because what does it say in Revelation? It says those that keep the commandments of God will no longer be able to buy or sell. So you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm a Christian. What is going to go on? Why won't I be able to buy or sell? Well, for those who keep the commandments of God, that will be the case. And that is very easily done with a digital currency. But that could be an entire other video itself, and we may talk about that later. So have you acquired any new skills recently? If something happens or when it happens, have you been building your infrastructure? Have you been studying your Bible? Have you been preparing your mind mentally for those things that we have to be turned off? I hope you have. Now I want to talk about something that is also prophetic. So a lot of people will try to box me in with my political thinking. And I don't want to talk about politics, but our country really hinges on that. And the Bible hinges on that too, actually. And let me explain. So right now, half the country do not like the politics that are happening in our country. They don't like the policies. I'm not going to say which one I like and which one I don't like. However, people don't care for it. And when that happens and the anger is stoked hard enough, the pendulum will swing hard the other direction. And it's been swinging harder and harder over the years for either side. So I really believe that that pendulum is going to swing really hard the other way. So hard, though, that it's going to be an extreme detriment to our country. And let me explain. So there's been a lot of talk around the pundits on the right side about our country getting back to God. Now, I'm a Christian, and I believe there are some really bad things happening in our country that are not of God. However, marrying together church and state is not the answer. And those pundits talking about marrying together church and state. Now, yes, we were founded as a Christian country. We were founded from people or by people who left because of religious persecution. They were not allowed to worship according to their conscience for the way that they read their Bible. And that is going to happen again. And that cannot happen, but it will. It's prophetic, and I've accepted that. Now, if you marry church and state together, there will be a huge push to force everyone to worship the way that the government wants you to worship. So if that happens, then there is no liberty of conscience left. There is somebody in government telling you or forcing you how to worship. And now, potentially, utilizing a digital currency. And if they don't like the way that you worship, they can turn off your money, turn off whatever it is they want to turn off. Now, friends, yes, our government, a Republican government, not connected with the current definition of the Republican Party, a Republican form of government was founded by Christian men. But there was never any force to force anybody to worship how they wanted them to worship. And I'm here to tell you that force, if you force somebody to do something, that is not of God. That is not love. Force isn't love. So, if you forced somebody to do something, it's from the enemy. Now, I don't want anybody to be forced to do anything against their conscience. But I know from the Bible that that is true. But for my friends who understand that same thing, have you prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually? And for my friends who don't know what I'm talking about, all you homesteaders out there, have you prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually? Because friends, right now we are governed by weak men, and those hard times are soon upon us. So friends, if you have any questions about what I am talking about, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'm happy to talk to you about it. Have a beautiful, blessed day, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.